What does it mean to truly create a thriving and aligned business as a creative entrepreneur? I talk to a lot of people who are aspiring creatives and have this big ambition, but feel that their struggles are in the things like lack of strategy, mindset, or even just bad systems. Now hear me out. The way you relate to one thing is the way that you relate to everything, right? So the way that you show up in your relationships is the same way you show up in your business. So why is this a problem? Well, we all have outdated patterns and survival strategies that play out in our relationships that keep us from fully embodying our authenticity and really diving into what it means to live an aligned life. So how that relates to business, codependency is going to show up, self-abandonment is going to show up, and those survival strategies that keep you small, even though you know you're here for something big, are going to show up. So why does this matter and why is this important? If you can learn to recreate the way that you relate to yourself, relationships, it will also impact the way you relate to your business. So I've experienced many times in my now over a decade-long journey of being a creative entrepreneur, from being a teenager and realizing, wow, I can do this and make money, but having no boundaries and just saying yes to everything, to being in college and designing furniture, to then bumping up to doing architecture and working with like big responsibility and liability, like, wow, can I wear these pants? You know, I've learned so much from that journey. And my biggest breakthroughs that have led me to become the entrepreneur that I am and to be grounded and embodied in the journey of continually aligning my life to a more and more authentic place, especially my business, has all been about honoring my yes and honoring, more importantly, my no. It's counterintuitive, right? But the more that I've learned to have access to my no, and truly to be able to feel confident to say no to projects that I'm getting a gut, not quite. No to clients who don't take responsibility for their part, or no to projects that seem like they have everything I could have wanted, but just something seems off. Your body is so much more intelligent than you think. So when you create space to really trust and feel into that, we create such access and availability to a whole new world of doing business that is beyond the little way that we've been trying to control it, right? And especially this is true if the way that you've been doing business keeps leading you to hit a wall, or you're hitting an income ceiling, or you're just not feeling like it's right. That would be an especially good time to try to experiment with something new. So an easy way that you can begin to integrate a whole new way of showing up in business now is just by running an experiment. Whether you're just getting started or you're really established in your craft, whatever you might be doing as a creative entrepreneur, what I encourage you to do is to really create space between you and how you're currently doing business. And what I mean by creating space is observe the patterns that you've normalized. Observe the parts of you that you might self-abandon to get the project just because you want it, or you need the money, or you're used to just being busy. The parts of you that are constantly trying to please the other person, even though if you're doing service work, yes, being a people pleaser to some degree is your role, but we can be a conscious embodied people pleaser to where we clearly communicate and say, this is what I'm going to do for you, and do just that. Versus constantly fawning, oh, what do you need? Yes, I can do that for you. There's a certain level of respect and a line that you need to draw in your own sand of being able to communicate your boundaries early and often so that you can actually do the work that is going to be transformative without just constantly acquiescing. So observe those patterns. Observe where, you start to dip into like, but I can really help this person. The ego wants to be like, yeah, even though it doesn't feel right, you can help them, so you gotta do it because it's your role to help people. If you fall into the conscious spiritual category, that is all too easy of a pattern to fall into. So just observe those patterns and start with this week, or if you want to go to a 30-day commitment, right on. Ask yourself, how can I create just 10% more intimacy with my no? So next time you're going to check out a project, you're going to engage with the prospect over a Zoom call, whatever it is. One, take the time and space you need beforehand to really get into your body and be attuned to, okay, what am I feeling? I'm feeling excitement. I'm feeling a little nervousness, maybe even a bit of anxiety. Okay, I'm just gonna sit with those and breathe. It works wonders to take a moment of just conscious regulation. And when you're in that meeting or you're at that site visit, you're checking out that project, whatever it is that you're doing, really attune to the subtle feelings in your body. Notice what happens. For me, when I get a no, I notice my body start to kind of get cold. And I sort of slow down and my shoulders come in. Maybe I even start doing things like this where I'm like, I don't know. Tap into those little sensations because they speak so much more than what your mind can. And especially pay attention to your gut. If you start to feel like a tension or a twist or just like a presence, an ache there, that's your body saying no. Too much, too fast, too soon, or not aligned. I'm not ready for this. And just practice, if you are resourced to do so, honoring that and being, you know what, like, it was great to meet you, but at the moment, I don't think we're the right fit. We can stay connected, but for right now, I'd like to not move forward. What an empowering place to be as a business owner, to where you are the one like driving the bus, you know, versus constantly like, what do you need as a client? I'm here to serve everything that you need, all of your desires. I don't care about me, it's all about you. What an empowering place just to show yourself that it's safe to honor your yes and no. And the more that you cultivate that trust, the more strongly that sensation is going to present itself to you, so that moving forward, it'll be very clear, very just like that immediate inner knowingness of this is for me or this is not for me. And as relationship expert Mark Groves says, if it's 99% yes, it's still a no. And that's so powerful. So practice this week to honor the patterns that are playing out, knowing that they've served you, but also declaring to yourself that you no longer want to operate in the same patterns because they're keeping you stuck. They're keeping you small and they're not creating the life that you want to create. In practice, the confidence and connection that it takes to say no to what is not aligned for you. You can do that in business, but you can also do that in your everyday life. You know, if some stranger stops you on the street and he's like, hey, can you do that? You know, I had an experience the other day with some guy just was kind of unstable, like could not leave me alone, and he was looking at my van. He's like, hey, can I use this? I saw you got some tools, and I just was like, no, sorry, I can't do that. I'm not available for that right now. And you have to be able to be connected to that. Of course, it doesn't mean that you're just cold-hearted to every single stranger that you meet, but just trusting that feeling in your body, like, hey, I'm not available for this. Or, you know what? Our pattern of communication in this project needs to be updated. I'm no longer going to respond to emails, texts, calls after 5 p.m. Whatever that is. Take those moments to honor your no and to celebrate those wins and see what happens. In my life, it's crazy. I say no to a project that I'm checking out that just for some reason it's good money, but I'm like, I don't think this is right. Then I'm driving home and I get a call from another potential client that already feels much more resonant. Their communication just seems more aligned with the way I like to communicate and things like that. Or like, you know what? I'm not gonna work past 6, I'll work to 6 because I like working in the afternoons. I'm not gonna work past 6 in my shop today. And then I leave my shop and then I get a Stripe notification of like a $50 something from like a month ago. It's like, wow. Little moments where you honor that and you might be met with something immediate and tangible, you know? So really take this space to tap in, to discern what your no is. Experiment by implementing that into your business and see what happens. And after a week, if nothing happens or doesn't feel right, go back to the way you were doing it before if it was working. But there's such a power in these intentional experiments. So I hope that you learned something today. Let me know that you're committing to doing this experiment by honoring your no in business. I'd love to hear from you, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode. Ciao.